Imagine a conflict so intense and so relentless that it reverberated across the globe, leaving deep imprints on nations and individuals alike. The Vietnam War was not just a clash of armies, it was a tumultuous chapter in history that reshaped political landscapes and personal lives in profound ways. Picture the dense, humid jungles and hear the distant echoes of combat that gnawed at the minds of soldiers and civilians. This war was a psychological battlefield where fear and uncertainty were as pervasive as the tropical rains. What made it especially terrifying was the omnipresent specter of psychological warfare that seeped into the very fabric of society. From the soldiers trudging through thick foliage plagued by the unseen enemy to the families at home haunted by the relentless news reports, each aspect of this conflict was a tapestry woven with anxiety, dread, and confusion. As we journey through the layers of this turbulent era, prepare to uncover the haunting truths and emotional depths that defined one of the most chilling periods in modern history. Stay with us as we unravel the enigmatic and often haunting tapestry of the Vietnam War, where every heartbeat and footstep carried the weight of a nation's fear and resolve. The Cold War context unfolds a tale of geopolitical chess where the United States and the Soviet Union stood as towering adversaries locked in a tense standoff. This era was marked by a fear that rippled through every corner of the globe, the fear of communism spreading like wildfire across continents. As the Iron Curtain descended, the specter of communism cast a long shadow over nations, fueling a sense of urgency among Western powers. The United States, determined to contain this ideological tide, saw Vietnam not merely as a solitary conflict but as a critical front in a broader struggle. This perception catapulted the nation into a complex web of military engagement and political maneuvering, driven by the domino theory, which suggested that the fall of one nation to communism could trigger a cascade of similar outcomes in neighboring countries. This fear of a chain reaction electrified the public consciousness, sparking anxiety both domestically and internationally. The stakes were high, and the atmosphere was charged with tension as international relations teetered on the brink of larger confrontation. Through this lens, the Vietnam War was not just a local skirmish but a battleground symbolizing the deeper ideological divide between East and West. It was a time when maps became more than mere representations of geography. They were canvases detailing a global narrative of resistance and hope. This pervasive anxiety cultivated a climate of suspicion and unease, shaping the decisions of leaders and the emotions of citizens alike, as the world held its breath amidst the ideological divide. The draft and its dread was an inescapable reality that loomed over many American households during the Vietnam War. Imagine being a young person with dreams and ambitions, suddenly thrust into a world of conflict without choice or preparation. This was the stark reality for thousands of young Americans, many of whom found themselves plucked from their everyday lives and catapulted into the chaos of war. The draft system relied on a lottery, a seemingly arbitrary process that determined the fate of countless individuals. As numbers were drawn from that glass bowl, the tension in living rooms across America was palpable. Families huddled together, holding their breath, hoping that their loved one's number would not be called. For those whose numbers were, a wave of fear and uncertainty washed over entire communities. Protests sprang to life across the nation as people from all walks of life came together to resist this mechanism that tore families apart and shattered dreams. Parents and young people alike took to the streets, their placards and chants a testament to their desperation and resolve. Anti-draft rallies became a symbol of defiance and solidarity, where voices were raised not only against the war itself but against the system that perpetuated it. These protests captured the essence of a generation grappling with moral quandaries and the stark realities of an unwanted conflict. The emotional weight of the draft extended far beyond the battlefield, leaving indelible marks on those forced to fight and those who fought to resist. Through these snapshots of history, we glimpse the profound anxiety and courage that characterized this tumultuous time, as individuals and families navigated the uncertain terrain of war, choice, and consequence. Guerrilla warfare tactics played a crucial role in shaping the terrifying nature of the Vietnam War, introducing American troops to an unfamiliar and unsettling style of combat. Imagine navigating through dense jungles where danger lurked behind every tree and under every leaf, a constant nerve-wracking atmosphere of unpredictability. The Viet Cong's mastery of guerrilla tactics transformed these settings into a labyrinth of fear and uncertainty. They used the natural environment to their advantage, blending seamlessly with the surroundings and turning the jungles into a strategic ally. Ambushes became a daily threat as soldiers never knew when or where the next attack would come. Hidden traps such as punji sticks and tripwires turned every step into a potential disaster. These traps were meticulously crafted to go unnoticed, sowing seeds of anxiety among troops who had to remain vigilant at all times. Surprise attacks were another hallmark of the Viet Cong's approach, catching American soldiers off guard and keeping them in a perpetual state of alertness. This constant tension was compounded by the guerrilla fighters' ability to vanish without a trace, leaving behind confusion and a grim reminder of their elusive presence. The psychological toll of this warfare method was immense, as soldiers had to contend not only with physical threats but also with the mental strain of never feeling truly safe. In this relentless environment, the jungles themselves seemed to conspire with the Viet Cong, making the war a true test of endurance and resilience. This guerrilla warfare was not just a series of tactical maneuvers. It was a chilling game of cat and mouse that left indelible imprints on the psyche of those who lived through it, deepening the terror that defined the Vietnam War experience. The jungle environment was a battlefield in itself, presenting a formidable and alien landscape that tested the limits of soldiers' endurance and resilience. Imagine stepping into a world where the air is thick with humidity and each breath feels heavy with the weight of nature itself. The Vietnamese jungles were a sprawling maze of dense foliage, where towering trees and tangled undergrowth created a canopy that obstructed the sky and cloaked the ground in perpetual twilight. This oppressive environment was both a physical and psychological adversary. The heat was relentless, sapping energy from exhausted bodies and turning every movement into a laborious struggle. Soldiers found themselves drenched in sweat, their clothes clinging uncomfortably as the oppressive climate intensified their fatigue. Yet it wasn't just the climate that posed a threat. The monsoons swept in with ferocious intensity, transforming the ground into a quagmire and flooding paths that once seemed navigable. Torrential rains blurred the lines between land and water, adding another layer of complexity to the already treacherous terrain. These conditions demanded constant vigilance, for in the jungle, every rustle and shadow could signal danger. The elements seemed to conspire with the Viet Cong, amplifying the fear and uncertainty that hung palpably in the air. Soldiers moved through this alien world cautiously, aware that each step could lead them deeper into unknown perils. The haunting cries of wildlife and the unyielding presence of the jungle itself became as much a part of the war as the enemy they faced. This environment was a relentless reminder of the challenges that defined the Vietnam War, an unyielding force that shaped the experiences of those who bravely navigated its depths, heightening the terror that lingered in every heartbeat. Psychological warfare during the Vietnam War was a sophisticated operation that extended beyond the physical battlefield, delving into the minds of soldiers to unravel their resilience and morale. Imagine facing an invisible enemy, not just through direct confrontation, but also through a constant barrage of deception and propaganda that targeted the very essence of a soldier's resolve. The Viet Cong were astute in their psychological strategies, employing tactics designed to sow doubt and fear among American troops. Propaganda leaflets fluttered from the sky, carried by the wind into the hands of soldiers already weary from combat. These messages were insidious, designed to undermine trust within ranks and demoralize those fighting far from home. They questioned the legitimacy of the war, whispered about betrayals and false hopes, and painted a grim portrait of inevitable failure. Such psychological tactics were a relentless whisper of despair that clung to the shadows of the jungle, waiting to catch a tired soldier off guard. Deception played a pivotal role too, blurring the lines between friend and foe and keeping soldiers on edge. The Viet Cong expertly manipulated their environment, deploying misinformation and staged scenarios to create confusion and fear. Every rustle in the dense undergrowth could represent an enemy or a mere figment of the imagination fueled by stress and fear. This mental battle was as taxing as the physical confrontations, stretching the limits of a soldier's endurance and courage. The psychological warfare waged in Vietnam was a haunting reminder of the unseen battles that can devastate just as surely as any bullet or bomb. It was a subtle yet powerful force that contributed to the chilling complexity of the Vietnam War, leaving deep imprints on those who withstood its psychological maelstrom. The role of media revealed the Vietnam War as the first to unfold vividly on television screens across America, earning it the title of the Television War. Imagine sitting in your living room, a cherished sanctuary now invaded by the raw, unfiltered images of a distant conflict. Every night, the war marched into homes with an unsettling familiarity, as news reports brought the grim reality into sharp focus. This unprecedented exposure allowed the public to witness the brutalities and chaos in real time, amplifying the war's terror manifold. Scenes of wounded soldiers, devastated landscapes, and grieving families were broadcast with unflinching directness, capturing the hearts and minds of millions. As these images flickered across screens, they sowed seeds of anxiety and dread within the fabric of society, transforming abstract battles into intimate realities. This visual narrative reshaped perceptions as people grappled with the dissonance between official statements and the stark, undeniable truths unfolding before their eyes. The media's role became a powerful double-edged sword, informing yet unsettling, connecting Americans to the war while deepening the rift between the public's understanding and the government's portrayal. The relentless stream of footage acted as a catalyst for discontent, fueling anti-war sentiments and protests across the nation. It was a window into the human cost of conflict, one that left an indelible mark on the collective consciousness long after the screens faded to black. This media-driven exposure opened a new chapter in journalism, forever changing the relationship between war, media, and public perception, illustrating how a lens could both illuminate and intensify the haunting realities of war. Chemical warfare, Agent Orange was one of the most haunting aspects of the Vietnam War, leaving a legacy of devastation that extended far beyond the battlefield. Imagine a landscape where lush greens turned to barren brown, a once vibrant ecosystem reduced to a ghostly shadow of its former self. This was the vision inflicted by Agent Orange, a chemical defoliant used to strip away the dense foliage that provided cover for enemy forces. The U.S. military deployed massive quantities of these herbicides across Vietnam, creating a toxic shroud that enveloped the land and left a scar that would endure for generations. The immediate impact was stark, but the true horror unfolded over time as the chemicals' insidious effects seeped into the soil, water, and lives of those who called these lands home. The human cost was profound as soldiers and civilians alike suffered from exposure to this deadly toxin. Immediate health repercussions included skin rashes and respiratory issues, but the lingering effects proved even more devastating. For many, the true nightmare began after the war ended, as the chemical wreaked havoc on genetic material, leading to birth defects and a tragic inheritance of disease in subsequent generations. Communities were left grappling with the heartbreaking realities of children born with severe deformities and health complications that defied explanation. Testimonies from survivors paint a vivid and harrowing portrait of lives forever altered, capturing the anguish of parents and the resilience of those who endure despite the odds. These voices echo through time, a reminder of the enduring legacy of chemical warfare and its capacity to inflict suffering long after the last weapon has been fired. The once vibrant landscapes stand as silent witnesses to this chapter of history, their altered states a testament to the pervasive and terrifying reach of Agent Orange. This episode of the Vietnam War reminds us of the devastating power of chemical agents and their profound impact on both nature and humanity, leaving scars that time alone cannot heal, resonating with each new generation as a sobering lesson on the consequences of modern warfare. The Tet Offensive marked a turning point in the Vietnam War, igniting a series of surprise attacks that shattered the illusion of American progress. Picture the somber New Year's celebrations of Tet in 1968, a time of supposed peace, abruptly interrupted by the deafening roar of conflict. This meticulously planned offensive saw the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese forces launching coordinated assaults on more than 100 cities and outposts throughout South Vietnam. The suddenness and scale of these attacks left both military and civilian populations reeling, as the conflict manifested in places previously untouched by the war's harsh realities. On the battlefield, soldiers found themselves under siege in what were thought to be secure areas, their sense of safety and control upended by the ferocity and precision of the offensive. In embattled urban landscapes, the chaos was palpable as iconic locations like the U.S. Embassy in Saigon faced direct assaults. The psychological impact was as devastating as the physical toll, with troops grappling with the realization that no place was truly safe from enemy reach. Back home in America, the Tet Offensive cast a long shadow over public perception. Televised images of fierce battles in city streets and the smoldering ruins of once peaceful towns contradicted official narratives of an imminent victory, sowing seeds of doubt and disillusionment. This stark contrast between expected triumph and harsh reality heightened the sense of unease among viewers, fueling anti-war sentiment and calls for re-evaluation of U.S. involvement. The maps of the time, littered with pinpoints of conflict, became symbols of a war that was far from the controlled, winnable effort many had been led to believe. The Tet Offensive served as a grim reminder that the war's outcome was anything but certain, altering the course of public opinion and highlighting the complexities of a conflict defined by surprise and resilience. The My Lai massacre stands as one of the darkest and most horrifying chapters of the Vietnam War, casting a long shadow over the moral and ethical dimensions of the conflict. Imagine the serene village of My Lai on a fateful day in March 1968, where hope and normalcy were brutally shattered. American soldiers, overwhelmed by the fog of war and a fervent desire to root out the Viet Cong, descended upon this village with tragic results. Over the course of a few harrowing hours, unarmed men, women, and children fell victim to unspeakable atrocities, their lives extinguished in a senseless act of violence. This horrific event tore through the fabric of trust, leaving survivors haunted by the memories of devastation and families torn apart by grief. For those who lived through it, the echoes of that day remain a constant reminder of humanity's capacity for both destruction and resilience. As images and reports of the massacre began to surface, the world watched in horror, grappling with the stark reality of moral and ethical decay amidst the chaos of war. This revelation fueled a growing wave of anti-war sentiment, as citizens and leaders confronted the implications of such unchecked brutality. Investigative footage and survivor accounts brought these truths to light, challenging the narratives of glory and righteousness that had once pervaded the public consciousness. My Lai became a poignant symbol of the profound moral quandaries faced by soldiers and societies, a stark reflection on the costs of war that go beyond the battlefield. The massacre left an indelible mark on the soul of a nation, highlighting the urgent need for accountability and reminding us of the fragile boundaries between duty and conscience in times of conflict. It serves as a powerful testament to the enduring lessons of history, urging us to reflect on the path of humanity as we navigate the complexities of our shared future. Napalm and its horrors emerged as one of the most visceral and shocking elements of the Vietnam War, with its haunting legacy etched into the memories of all who witnessed its impact. Imagine a substance that clings with an unyielding grip, igniting everything in its path with a ferocious intensity, a weapon that turned both enemy positions and unassuming landscapes into fiery infernos. Napalm, a concoction of gelatinized gasoline, was deployed extensively during the conflict, creating scenes of widespread devastation that seared themselves into the collective consciousness. The effects were horrifying as this incendiary weapon enveloped jungles, villages, and human beings in an inescapable blaze, leaving trails of destruction visible from miles away. For those caught within its reach, the heat was unbearable and the agony unimaginable, marking a grim testimony to the terrifying prowess of modern warfare. The aftermath bore witness to landscapes scarred beyond recognition, once lush terrains reduced to charred remnants and lives forever altered by the inferno's wrath. As these images began to filter through to the global audience, they invoked a visceral reaction, sparking waves of outrage and disbelief. Iconic photographs and footage captured the stark realities of napalm's destructive force, conveying the tangible horror and suffering experienced by countless innocents. These visual accounts became catalysts for public outcry, as the stark contrast between faraway battle strategies and their real-world consequences came to light. The haunting images of children fleeing in terror, their cries echoing through the corridors of history, galvanized anti-war movements and challenged the ethical boundaries of conflict. Napalm's pervasive shadow cast a critical lens on the moral implications of warfare, urging societies to confront the human cost that accompanied military might. In the searing truth of napalm's horrors, we find a powerful reminder of the devastating impact of unchecked power, one that resonates with each new generation, compelling us to reflect on the true price of war. The draft dodger movement brings to light the profound fear and moral quandaries that gripped those who chose to evade the draft during the Vietnam War era. Imagine the turmoil of standing at a crossroads, facing the weighty decision to defy the government's call to arms, a decision fraught with both personal and societal consequences. For many young Americans, the prospect of being thrust into the chaos of war without consent was a grim reality that clashed with their personal beliefs and values. This dissonance led some to take drastic steps to avoid conscription, morphing into a movement that challenged the nation's conscience. Yet, dodging the draft was not a path taken lightly. It carried the weight of societal stigma, branding individuals as cowards or traitors in the eyes of their communities. This label often followed them, casting a shadow over careers and relationships long after the war ended. The legal repercussions were equally daunting, with draft dodgers facing potential imprisonment and the loss of fundamental rights like voting or employment opportunities. Personal stories and news reports from that era reveal the complex tapestry of motivations behind each individual's choice. Some fled to Canada or Sweden, seeking refuge and solidarity among fellow resistors, while others went underground, living in constant fear of discovery and arrest. Families were often torn apart by these decisions, grappling with the intense emotions of anger, disappointment, or understanding. The courage to stand against the tide came at a cost, a burden borne by those who struggled with their principles and convictions amidst a backdrop of national division. Through these narratives, the draft dodger movement exposes the intimate battles waged within hearts and homes, illustrating the profound impact of war on both collective and personal levels. It serves as a poignant reminder of the ethical complexities faced by individuals amidst the sweeping currents of history, reflecting the enduring struggle between duty to country and duty to self. The living hell of POW camps was a haunting reality that etched its mark on the Vietnam War, unveiling a nightmarish world of torture, isolation, and deprivation. Imagine being confined in a cage of fear where each day drags on with an agonizing slowness, the minutes stretching into hours and hours into endless voids of uncertainty. The prisoners of war in these Vietnamese camps endured a living nightmare. Stripped of autonomy, they faced brutal interrogations, often subjected to inhumane treatment designed to break both body and spirit. Accounts from those who survived paint a vivid picture of their suffering, stories of physical torment that pushed the limits of human endurance. Soldiers were shackled and left vulnerable to the mercy of their captors, enduring conditions that were as relentless as the conflict raging beyond the camp walls. Isolation was a constant companion, with POWs kept in solitary confinement for extended periods, cut off from the world and from each other. This profound loneliness was compounded by a lack of essential needs. Food was scarce, and what little was provided was often barely enough to sustain life. Deprivation extended to the mind as well, as the absence of stimulation or comfort bore down upon them like a heavy shadow. Yet amidst this darkness, a flicker of resilience endured. POWs developed ingenious methods of communication, tapping on walls to maintain a sense of connection and sanity in an environment that sought to strip them of both. Through drawings etched with makeshift tools, they depicted their stark realities, the meager rations, the confines of their cells, and the haunting emptiness that surrounded them. These visual testimonies stand as silent witnesses to the courage that resisted despair, a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure even in the most harrowing circumstances. This living hell of POW camps is a sobering reminder of the extreme adversities faced during the Vietnam War, illustrating the profound psychological and physical trials that tested the very essence of survival. The unseen enemy instilled an ever-present fear within the hearts of soldiers as they navigated the intricate landscape of Vietnam. Imagine the unease of walking through a village where every face could potentially harbor hostility, yet blend seamlessly into the backdrop of ordinary life. The Viet Cong's ability to integrate into civilian populations created an invisible threat that lingered in the shadows, blurring the lines between ally and adversary. This pervasive uncertainty bred a paranoia that haunted American troops, fueling tension and mistrust in environments where distinguishing friend from foe was a matter of life and death. Soldiers faced a harrowing dilemma: the necessity to remain vigilant and prepared for combat while striving to maintain the humanity and moral compass expected in interactions with civilians. This duality of suspicion and duty weighed heavily, complicating every encounter and decision. Paranoia became a silent companion on patrols, as soldiers were forced to question the motives of those around them, the innocuous gestures, and even the most benign conversations. Eyewitness accounts from veterans reveal the psychological toll of this constant vigilance, where daily routines transformed into exercises in restraint and fortified awareness. Personal testimonies recount grappling with the fear that an unassuming face might suddenly turn hostile, creating an environment where uncertainty was as oppressive as the jungle's humidity. Veterans recall moments of tension when simple interactions carried the threat of hidden danger, illustrating the mental strain of operating in a landscape where threats and safety were entwined in a delicate, precarious balance. The unseen enemy turned daily existence into a profound test of perception and resolve, leaving indelible marks on those who lived through this unsettling aspect of the Vietnam War. Through their stories, we understand the depth of fear and complexity that defined encounters with an elusive adversary, illuminating the psychological battlefield soldiers endured beyond the visible conflict. Helicopter warfare played a pivotal role in the Vietnam War, transforming the nature of combat with both strategic brilliance and the terror they invoked. Imagine the thunderous roar of rotors slicing through the humid air, a symbol of power and mobility in the thick of battle. these aerial machines became the lifeline of the battlefield, offering rapid troop mobility, medical evacuation, and air support in a terrain that was otherwise impenetrable. For the soldiers, the sight of approaching helicopters often meant salvation, a swift retreat from danger, a lifeline to safety. Yet, this same symbol of hope carried with it an undercurrent of fear. The very presence of these aircraft painted them as primary targets for enemy fire, thrusting those on board into a constant state of peril. The dense jungles and elusive enemy made every flight a treacherous journey where the risk of being shot down was ever present. Helicopters navigated through skies laced with anti-aircraft artillery, weaving through invisible webs of danger as pilots and crew members faced the harrowing reality of potential destruction. Personal accounts from veterans describe the adrenaline of flight missions, the tense moments as they skimmed treetops, evading an unseen opponent. The fear of a sudden strike loomed over each mission, a silent companion amid the sounds of whirring blades. The strategy of helicopter warfare revolutionized the conduct of war by enabling swift strikes and rapid deployments, yet it also underscored the vulnerability inherent in modern combat. These flying workhorses bore witness to the duality of hope and fear, encapsulating the complex nature of the Vietnam War experience. Through the lens of helicopter warfare, we glimpse the courage and anxiety that accompanied each mission, a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who flew and fought in these metallic birds of prey. The anti-war movement in the United States emerged as a powerful force of domestic unrest and fear during the Vietnam War era. Imagine a nation already grappling with the chaos of conflict, now facing an intense outcry of opposition on its own soil. This movement was a tapestry woven with the voices of countless individuals unified by a common goal to end U.S. involvement in Vietnam. Across cities and campuses, the sounds of protests echoed, with demonstrators holding signs and chanting slogans that questioned the righteousness of the war. Major demonstrations became pivotal moments in this turbulent time. Take, for instance, the March on the Pentagon in 1967, where thousands converged to voice their dissent, a sea of humanity standing against the machinery of war. Similarly, the Kent State shootings in 1970 became a tragic symbol of the deep divisions within American society, as students protesting the Cambodian campaign were met with violence. These events highlighted a cultural shift as music, art, and literature began to reflect the growing discontent. Songs like "Give Peace a Chance" became anthems for pacifism, unifying generations under a banner of hope and pressure for change. Interviews with activists revealed the passion and determination that fueled this movement. They spoke of the fear that their voices might go unheard and the resolve to challenge a system that seemed unhearing to their pleas. The anti-war movement was not merely a backdrop to the war. It became a central narrative illustrating the power of collective action and the potential for change. Through this lens, we see a nation wrestling with its conscience as the call for peace and accountability resonated across its heartland, sparking a dialogue that forever altered the fabric of American society. The domino theory was a compelling idea that took hold during the Vietnam War, sparking widespread anxiety and shaping U.S. foreign policy with a sense of urgency and resolve. Picture a series of dominoes lined up in a row, a metaphor for the fragile balance of power during this era. The theory posited that if one nation in Southeast Asia fell to communism, others would quickly follow, triggering a cascading effect that could extend the influence of communism far beyond its existing borders. This vision of a world transformed by a chain reaction of ideological shifts instilled fear across the globe. In the minds of policymakers, the stakes were monumental. To many, the loss of Vietnam was not just about the country itself, but about the potential for a seismic shift in global power dynamics. This perception fueled the U.S. commitment to intervene, as leaders believed it was critical to halt the spread of communism before it could gain momentum. Public sentiment mirrored this fear. Many Americans, influenced by the rhetoric of the time, viewed the conflict as a necessary battle to preserve freedom and democracy worldwide. Political cartoons of the era often depicted these ideas with vivid imagery, a world teetering on the brink of communist domination, where each fallen nation threatened to tip the scales further. Maps illustrating the potential spread of communism underscored the perceived urgency of the situation, serving as both a warning and a call to action. This widespread belief in the domino theory contributed to a heightened sense of vulnerability and a determination to engage in Vietnam as a means of securing broader global stability. The anxiety surrounding this theory exemplified the complexities of Cold War geopolitics, highlighting the intense fear of ideological proliferation that drove nations into conflict. Through this lens, we can understand how the domino theory became a significant and motivating force that elevated the Vietnam War to a critical stage in the struggle between competing worldviews. The draft resistance and its consequences unfolded as a profound saga of defiance, where individuals and communities grappled with the weight of conscience and consequence. Imagine standing firmly against the tide, choosing to resist a draft you believe unjust, knowing the stakes involved. For many, this resistance was more than just a personal choice. It was a stand against the perceived moral implications of the Vietnam War. Families became battlegrounds of ideals, with sons and brothers facing the daunting prospect of legal repercussions. The decision to resist often led to courtroom dramas where individuals defended their convictions in the face of potential imprisonment. These legal battles became a poignant aspect of the era, with resistors arguing for their freedom and beliefs against a backdrop of societal expectations. Documented stories reveal the courage and turmoil faced by these individuals who risked everything to voice their dissent. One such narrative is of a young man who penned a heartfelt letter to his draft board, detailing his objections and readiness to face the consequences. His story echoes the struggles of many who faced imprisonment, enduring separation from their loved ones and a future clouded with uncertainty. Communities rallied around these individuals, transforming resistance into a collective experience of support and solidarity. For some, the cost was steep, marked by years spent behind bars and the lasting stigma that followed. Yet, through these narratives, the human cost of draft resistance emerges vividly, illustrating the sacrifices made in pursuit of peace and justice. These stories resonate as powerful reminders of the complexity of personal conviction in the face of overwhelming odds, shedding light on the nuanced tapestry of resistance that defined this poignant chapter of the Vietnam War. Operation Rolling Thunder rained terror from the skies as a relentless bombing campaign that etched unforgettable scars into the landscape of Vietnam. Imagine living under constant threat, with the roar of aircraft engines and the whistling descent of bombs as your daily soundtrack. For Vietnamese civilians, this assault transformed familiar surroundings into unsettling reminders of vulnerability and chaos. Homes, villages, and lush terrains were obliterated within moments, reducing vibrant communities to scenes of devastation. The physical destruction was immense, but the psychological impact lingered long after the dust settled. The fear of sudden and unprovoked bombardment became an unyielding shadow, fostering a climate of perpetual anxiety and instability. For American pilots, Operation Rolling Thunder was a dramatic and daunting experience. Each mission carried the weight of uncertainty as they navigated through skies teeming with anti-aircraft defenses. The pressure to achieve complex strategic objectives while facing the realities of hostile engagements tested both skill and endurance. Pilots often grappled with the moral implications of their actions, aware of the profound impact these missions had on civilian populations below. They returned from flights with vivid memories of the smoke and flames that marked their path, a haunting reminder of their participation in this aerial onslaught. The aftermath of these missions bore witness to landscapes irrevocably altered and lives forever changed, serving as enduring symbols of the war's destructive capacity. These campaigns also fueled anti-war sentiment internationally, as images of the bombings illuminated the stark human cost associated with such military strategies. The terror of Operation Rolling Thunder underscores the complex interplay between strategy and humanity, revealing the far-reaching consequences of warfare felt in the land and in the skies, resonating deeply within the narrative of the Vietnam War's haunting legacy. The role of PTSD introduces a haunting chapter that extends beyond the battlefield, as veterans grappled with a silent adversary long after the conflict ended. Imagine returning home expecting solace and familiarity, only to face an invisible enemy within, a relentless torment of memories and psychological scars that refuse to fade. For many veterans, the experience of war had imprinted itself indelibly upon their minds, manifesting as post-traumatic stress disorder, a condition that was initially shrouded in misunderstanding and stigma. During that era, PTSD was often misconstrued as a mere inability to cope, a mischaracterization that compounded the suffering of those who desperately needed support. It wasn't just the immediate survivors who bore this burden. Their families and communities felt the ripple effects of an unseen struggle that could unravel the fabric of everyday life. The enduring impact of PTSD was profound, with veterans experiencing flashbacks, anxiety, and emotional detachment that made reintegration into civilian life a formidable challenge. Interviews with veterans reveal the depth of their trauma as personal stories bring to light the silent battles waged each day. They speak of sleepless nights haunted by echoes of gunfire, of sudden triggers that transport them back to jungles filled with danger. These narratives underscore the complexity of living with an unrelenting storm of memories that can strike unexpectedly, isolating individuals from the very people they cherish. The societal repercussions were equally significant, as communities struggled to support their returning members amid a backdrop of limited understanding and resources. Gradually, awareness and acknowledgement began to grow, paving the way for better mental health support systems and a more empathetic societal approach. The role of PTSD in the Vietnam War narrative is a poignant reminder of the invisible wounds carried by so many, urging us to recognize and address the deep psychological toll that conflict can impart. It serves as a testament to the resilience of those who endure and the need for continued compassion and care in supporting the healing journey of all impacted by war. The moral quagmire of the Vietnam War unveils a complex tapestry of ethical and moral dilemmas that haunted both soldiers and leaders alike. Imagine standing on a battlefield where the lines between right and wrong blur amidst the fog of war. The conflict was rife with instances that shook the very foundation of moral reasoning, as decisions made in the heat of battle carried grave consequences. Civilian casualties loomed large over the war's narrative, as attempts to root out the Viet Cong often resulted in devastating collateral damage. Villages caught in the crossfire bore the brunt of these military tactics, leaving shattered communities and grief-stricken families in their wake. The haunting presence of such casualties posed profound ethical questions. How does one weigh military necessity against the sanctity of innocent lives? This quandary stretched beyond the battlefield to echo in the halls of leadership, where policymakers grappled with the moral implications of their directives. Controversial tactics like Operation Rolling Thunder and the use of chemical agents further fueled the debate, challenging the integrity of military strategy and its alignment with humanitarian principles. Soldiers faced their own moral battles, tasked with executing orders that often conflicted with personal beliefs and ethical standards. These realities created a psychological burden as individuals wrestled with the consequences of actions dictated by survival and duty. Expert analyses and ethical discussions highlight the enduring relevance of these conundrums, underscoring the need for accountability and reflection in the face of moral ambiguity. As we delve into these narratives, we uncover the layers of conflict that transcend physical confrontation, revealing a war not only against an enemy but against the moral dilemmas that define the human experience. Through examining the Vietnam War's moral quagmire, we gain insight into the enduring complexities of warfare and the pivotal role of ethics in shaping decisions that resonate across generations. This exploration challenges us to reflect on our own values and the legacy of choices made under the duress of conflict, urging a deeper understanding of the moral dimensions that accompany the horrors of war. The impact on Vietnamese civilians during the Vietnam War was a profound manifestation of terror as they found themselves caught in the relentless crossfire. Imagine a community once vibrant and thriving, now gripped by a pervasive fear and uncertainty that disrupted everyday life. For many, displacement became an unfortunate reality, as families were forced to flee their homes in search of safety, leaving behind everything they knew. This mass exodus created a sense of dislocation and upheaval, uprooting traditional ways of life and scattering communities across unfamiliar territories. The fear of reprisal loomed large as well, as civilians were often caught in the line of fire between opposing forces. Each day carried the potential for devastating conflict to erupt, infusing daily life with a heightened sense of danger and unpredictability. Personal testimonials from survivors paint a vivid picture of these harrowing experiences, stories of parents shielding their children from the chaos, and of individuals who witnessed their villages transformed into battlegrounds. The long-term effects of this terror extended far beyond the immediate conflict, as communities struggled to rebuild in the war's aftermath. The social fabric was irrevocably altered, with deep psychological scars and disrupted family structures marking the post-war landscape. Visual comparisons of these communities before and after the war reveal stark contrasts. Once lush farmlands turned barren, bustling markets rendered silent, and homes reduced to rubble. These images serve as powerful reminders of the enduring legacy of conflict, illustrating the profound and lasting impact on those who lived through it. As we consider the voices and stories of Vietnamese civilians, we gain a deeper understanding of their resilience and the long journey toward healing and restoration. This exploration highlights the indomitable spirit of those who endured one of history's most terrifying ordeals, and underscores the importance of acknowledging their struggles in the broader narrative of the Vietnam War. The role of technology in the Vietnam War introduced an unpredictable and terrifying dimension to the conflict, transforming it into a battleground not just of ideologies but of cutting-edge innovations. Imagine stepping onto the battlefield where the hum of machinery and the glow of screens replaced the traditional sounds of warfare. This era saw the mechanization of combat like never before, blurring the lines between science fiction and reality. Advanced helicopters such as the Huey and the Cobra provided rapid troop movement and air assaults, altering the dynamics of engagement. These mechanical beasts offered a tactical advantage, yet their presence also painted a target on everything aerial. For some, the sight of these aircrafts was a symbol of might, while for others, it elicited a visceral fear of the skies erupting with chaos at any moment. Ground forces faced the formidable challenge of the M16 rifle and other advanced weaponry, offering increased firepower with a level of precision that transformed close combat scenarios. The lurking danger of landmines and booby traps, often camouflaged with the aid of technology, further heightened the unpredictability of each step taken. These innovations were not mere tools of warfare. They were psychological weapons that instilled a pervasive sense of unease. The possibility of unseen threats stalking soldiers through the jungle underscored the idea that technology, while an ally, could also be a daunting adversary. The electronic battlefield expanded with the advent of sophisticated communication equipment, enabling coordination across vast distances but also exposing new vulnerabilities. The specter of intercepted communications and jamming added layers of complexity to strategic planning. For those on the ground, each beep and crackle transmitted over radios was a reminder of both connectivity and the potential for isolation. This technological evolution underscored the duality of modern warfare, where innovation meant both enhanced capabilities and an escalation of fear. As we delve into the technological landscape of the Vietnam War, we uncover the intricate web of advancement and anxiety, illustrating the delicate balance between progress and peril. This exploration highlights how technology shaped not only the battlefield but also the psyche of those embroiled in the conflict, leaving a legacy that reverberates in the annals of military history. The demoralizing effects of attrition strategy showcases a grim chapter of the Vietnam War, where the U.S. engaged in a strategy focused on wearing down the enemy, ultimately casting a shadow of fear and uncertainty over its troops. Imagine fighting not with the certainty of decisive victory, but with the exhausting aim of gradually diminishing the enemy's strength. This strategy, reliant on body counts and relentless conflict, eroded morale among soldiers who found themselves stuck in an unending cycle of combat. Instead of clear milestones, troops were left grappling with a relentless grind where the enemy, elusive and resourceful, seemed to regenerate despite heavy losses. The absence of a definitive endpoint created psychological fatigue, sowing seeds of doubt about the purpose and progress of the war. Strategic maps and military reports from the era revealed the vast scale of operations, yet these metrics often failed to capture the human cost or provide solace to weary soldiers. The war of attrition strained the troops' resilience, as the constant pressure to engage in skirmishes with fleeting gains took a toll on their mental and emotional well-being. Each day felt like a struggle against an invisible clock, with the promise of victory all but obscured by the fog of war. This relentless approach transformed the battlefield into a quagmire of uncertainty, as soldiers faced the demoralizing reality of a war defined not by triumph but by attrition. For those entrenched in this strategy, the Vietnam War became an arduous test of endurance, reflecting the complex and often harrowing dimensions of conflict where traditional notions of success and achievement were continually challenged. Through this exploration of attrition strategy, we gain insight into the profound toll on human lives and spirits, revealing the intricate layers of warfare that go beyond physical confrontation, echoing the enduring challenges faced by all who navigate its perilous landscapes. The Paris Peace Accords and its aftermath mark a critical chapter in the Vietnam War, filled with drawn-out negotiations and a profound sense of uncertainty. Imagine the tense atmosphere of Paris, where diplomats from the United States, North Vietnam, South Vietnam, and the Viet Cong were locked in intense discussions, each word weighted with the hopes and fears of their nations. These negotiations stretched over 4 long years, underscoring the complexity and stakes involved in finding a resolution. As representatives deliberated over clauses and compromises, the world watched with bated breath, aware that the outcome could alter the geopolitical landscape. Yet, even as the accords were signed in 1973, signifying a formal end to U.S. military involvement, the shadow of uncertainty loomed large. The abrupt cessation of direct conflict left lingering anxieties about the future stability of Vietnam and the region. For many, the conclusion of active combat was a moment of profound relief, alleviating the immediate horrors of war. However, the transition to peace proved tumultuous as the fragility of the agreements became apparent on the ground. Archival footage reveals the mixed emotions of soldiers returning home as they grappled with the reality of a war that ended without clear victory. The political landscape of South Vietnam remained volatile, with fears of renewed conflict as the balance of power wavered. This precarious situation fueled skepticism about the sustainability of peace, leaving both Vietnamese civilians and the international community on edge. The Paris Peace Accords, while an essential milestone, did not erase the psychological and emotional scars left by years of conflict. the lingering uncertainties highlighted the complexities of transitioning from war to peace, a narrative of hope tempered by the sobering realities of reconciliation. As we reflect on this pivotal moment, we are reminded of the profound challenges faced by nations striving for stability amidst the turbulence of change, a testament to the lasting impact of the Vietnam War on both regional and global scales. The fall of Saigon marked a dramatic and chaotic conclusion to the Vietnam War, encapsulating a moment of profound desperation and terror that resonated around the world. Picture a city on the brink, its streets filled with the frenetic energy of people scrambling for safety as North Vietnamese forces closed in. This final chapter unfolded in April 1975, a period of intense anxiety as news spread of the impending capture of the capital. For many South Vietnamese, the realization of no longer being secure under U.S. protection stirred a palpable fear of retribution and uncertainty about their future. The evacuation became an urgent race against time, with countless individuals risking everything to secure a place on the last helicopters leaving the city. Imagine the scene: embassies overwhelmed with crowds of desperate civilians hoping for a chance to escape, their faces etched with both hope and despair. As these helicopters lifted off from rooftops, leaving behind the chaos below, they symbolized a fragile lifeline amidst a collapsing order. The stories of those who managed to flee intertwine with the haunting silence of those left behind, each narrative a testament to human resilience and the haunting specter of conflict. Archival footage captures the raw emotion of this exodus, a sea of people clinging to the promise of safety, their belongings hastily gathered and their futures uncertain. The fall of Saigon serves as a powerful reminder of the human cost of war, where boundaries of nation and self blur amidst the struggle for survival. It is a poignant reflection on the complexities of power transition, the enduring impact on those who witnessed it, and the lessons etched into history as we remember this defining moment in the tapestry of the Vietnam War. The legacy of landmines remains a persistent terror echoing from the Vietnam War, casting a long shadow over communities as they attempt to rebuild lives amid unseen dangers. Imagine fields that once blossomed with crops now lying dormant, silent specters from which a single misstep could unleash devastation. Despite the war having ended decades ago, the remnants of conflict persist beneath the surface in the form of unexploded landmines and ordnances. These lurking hazards continue to pose a grave threat, turning everyday activities into potential tragedies for those living in affected regions. Maps of these mined areas reveal a chilling reality, with vast swaths of land marked as hazardous, labyrinthine plots peppered with invisible peril. This legacy instills a pervasive fear within communities where even a simple journey to school or work involves navigating a treacherous landscape. Stories from those who have experienced the impact first and lay bare the vulnerability they endure, like a farmer who lost a limb while tilling a field, or children whose games are shadowed by the fear of triggering an explosion. These personal accounts illustrate the ongoing struggle to coexist with threats that refuse to be relegated to the past. However, amidst this lingering danger, efforts to mitigate the risk offer a glimmer of hope. Various organizations are dedicated to demining and education initiatives, striving to clear these deadly remnants and inform locals about safety measures. Deminers risk their lives daily, meticulously scanning the earth with careful attention to rid the land of its hidden menaces. This tireless work has made significant strides in reclaiming land and restoring safety, yet the journey remains fraught with challenges. The legacy of landmines serves as a sobering reminder of the lasting consequences of war, a narrative where peace is shadowed by past conflicts, urging vigilance and perseverance in the quest for a future free from fear. As we reflect on these efforts, we are drawn into the profound resilience and courage of those who continue to fight for a safer tomorrow against the remnants of a turbulent history. The war's impact on Vietnamese culture and society reveals a chapter of profound transformation marked by social upheaval and cultural challenges following the Vietnam War. Imagine a society striving to rebuild yet facing the daunting shadow of economic collapse, a struggle where resources once directed towards conflict now needed to sustain and rejuvenate daily life. The war's aftermath brought widespread devastation to the economy, with infrastructure in shambles and agricultural lands ravaged by combat. This crippling economic state translated into hardship for families who found themselves grappling with scarcity and uncertainty. The quest for survival extended beyond physical needs as post-war Vietnam navigated complex social dynamics. Re-education camps emerged as a mechanism to enforce ideological conformity, imposing a new set of norms and values upon the population. These camps were intended to integrate former soldiers and civilians into the new societal framework, yet they also represented a period of intense cultural assimilation and control. Personal narratives from those who endured these camps paint a picture of resilience and adaptation despite the challenges they faced. Stories of individuals adapting to new societal expectations highlight the complexity of navigating a rapidly changing world. Interviews with Vietnamese people allow us to glimpse into their experiences and the nuanced realities of recovery. Like a woman who spoke of the cultural shift she navigated while preserving her family's traditions, or a community leader who reflected on the enduring spirit of unity that emerged amidst adversity. These personal accounts underscore the depth of cultural reinvention that characterized this era. Through their voices, we witness the indomitable human spirit striving to reclaim identity and thrive despite daunting odds. This exploration into the war's cultural impact sheds light on the intricate weaving of past and present, drawing us into the narrative of a nation that rose from turmoil with hope and determination, a testament to the enduring resilience and cultural richness that define Vietnam's journey. The psychological toll on veterans reveals a haunting legacy of the Vietnam War, where the battles continued long after the soldiers returned home. Imagine carrying invisible scars, wounds of the mind that remain unseen yet profoundly impact daily life. For many veterans, the transition back to civilian life was fraught with challenges as they faced the lingering shadows of war in the form of post-traumatic stress disorder. This condition, characterized by anxiety, flashbacks, and emotional numbness, haunted their waking hours and sleep alike. The journey through this psychological maze often felt isolating, as the stigma surrounding mental health during that era left many veterans struggling in silence. Personal stories illuminate this struggle. One veteran recounts the challenges of reacquainting with family while grappling with sudden triggers that transported him back to the battlefields. Another describes the profound difficulty of seeking and accepting help, a journey marked by both resistance and eventual relief upon finding community and understanding. Expert analyzers highlight the complexity of these experiences, underscoring the need for a compassionate approach to healing. Over the years, the growing recognition of these invisible wounds led to the establishment of support systems offering therapy and peer support to aid recovery. Veteran support groups became sanctuaries where individuals could share their experiences without judgment, fostering a sense of solidarity and healing. Counseling sessions provided tools to navigate the labyrinth of memory and emotion, helping veterans reconnect with their lives and those they loved. This ongoing recovery effort represents a beacon of hope, illustrating the resilience of the human spirit in the face of profound adversity. The psychological toll on veterans serves as a poignant reminder of the enduring impact of war, one that extends beyond the battlefield into the very fabric of life. Through acknowledging and addressing these struggles, we honor the journey of healing that so many continue to undertake, a testament to the strength and courage that define their stories. The Vietnam War was a living tapestry of terror woven into history by countless threads of psychological, social, and cultural impacts. From the relentless fear sown by guerrilla warfare tactics to the profound dread elicited by chemical agents like Agent Orange, the conflict was a crucible where endurance was constantly tested. The psychological toll bored deeply into the minds of soldiers and civilians alike, leaving scars that extend beyond time. Guerrilla warfare tactics and the dense jungle environments transformed the battlefield into a haunting landscape where danger lurked unseen, echoing through the stories of those who experienced the gripping chaos firsthand. The societal divides fueled by the draft and anti-war movement left marks on the nation, challenging the collective conscience and reshaping cultural norms. Communities were fragmented as individuals faced moral dilemmas, grappling with the consequences of choices made in resistance or compliance. Moreover, the war's impact on Vietnamese culture and society was profound, as the struggle to rebuild amidst economic and social upheaval left enduring imprints on national identity and resilience. In reflecting on this turbulent chapter, we are reminded of the lessons learned and the importance of remembering this complex history. The Vietnam War, in all its terrifying dimensions, serves as a testament to the resilience and tenacity required to navigate the human experience amidst overwhelming adversity. As we delve into these narratives, we are encouraged to contemplate the far-reaching effects of conflict and how they continue to shape our world. Let us reflect on the lasting legacy of the Vietnam War, honoring the narratives of those who lived through it and acknowledging the ongoing journey of healing and understanding. If you found this exploration insightful, I invite you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into history's most compelling mysteries. Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery.